Hi, everybody. I'm Diane Brady. I'm here with Ericson Chan, who is the Group Chief Information and Digital Officer for Zurich Insurance Group. Hi, Ericson. You're also on the CIO Next list this year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
One of the things I loved when I was talking to recruiters for this list, I said, what is it about Ericson? What does he bring to Zurich? And he said, the future. And I just thought that summed it up perfectly. From where you sit, what does the future look like?
Well, I think, yes, definitely we think the future will leverage technology, make our customers' life better, easier. So as we are bombarded with so many different things, so much data, we have to make our customer life a lot easier. So I think that is sum it up as that's the future. So, and our three things we have always been focusing on, regardless what technology to use, we focus on customer experience, we focus on making things simpler for our customers, and we continue to innovate to find new ways to get to serve our customers better.
So I want to walk back because I think of these interviews as a chance to see the world through your eyes, but also get a sense of your own career trajectory. Ericson, I know, let's go prior to Ping An Technology, where you were CEO prior to coming to Zurich. I'm intrigued that you went to school in Wisconsin. What brought you there?
Wisconsin is a fantastic school. So as a part of the Big Ten Conference, they have incredible program in computer science. In fact, I know we all like to talk about AI these days, one of the hottest topic. And that's where I went to study a good few decades ago. It's quite some time ago. And the class CS 536 is still there. It's a fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the curriculum, the content will be very different. The class is still there. I really, really enjoyed it, study AI back then. It's a great school, right culture. I think they do have what we call it, the grit. I don't know if you are aware, do a little bit promotion for them. I think Wisconsin has the most Fortune 500 CEO. So.
Oh, no, I'm not surprised. I actually went to school at I remember the University of Nairobi. They had a very vibrant program there. They have a very vibrant international program at, I believe they had some connections to HKU as well in Hong Kong. So I've always been very impressed. Give us a sense of what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you want to be a computer scientist, a technologist?
Well, honestly, I was just simply intrigued by what digital can do. And one of my very early jobs when I was a teenager, I was working in a fashion retailer. And I wasn't, of course, I get to learn a little bit of a fashion, but then is what really, really interests me back then is how they store, how to manage their whole supplies and the inventory. And then even back then, it was all digitized. Whatever garments get sold in the morning, in the early afternoon is already replenished in the floor at that time without any human intervention. So that really started to intrigue me. What digital? Yeah, that was in Hong Kong, the four-story Esprit fashion outlet.
Which is interesting because they've just come back to the U.S. again. Esprit, they've
Yes.
just opened offices here in New York, and the T-shirts are once again on the streets. So I want to talk a bit before getting back to Zurich about Ping An Technology. It's been written up in HBR. You were the CEO there for, I believe, 4.5 years. Talk about what you did there that you think was transformative in the industry. Maybe tell people a bit more about Ping An altogether.
Yeah, I would talk a little bit about Ping An, and then there's a lot of similarities between what Ping An was doing and what Zurich is doing today. So, and it's what the key focus is: how do we help the customer, not only providing a financial coverage or risk transfer, but to use digital means to engage the customer in advance. So get to know the customer, understand their needs. How can we even minimize the risk profile? So optimize and minimize the risk profile. What exactly does it mean? So, for example, if we talk about health, how can we use digital means to get you healthier, get your well-being better? And then this is all through a mobile app as such. So, and then also instead of just talking about life or health insurance alone, so if we get into motor or mobility, instead of just talking about car insurance, how can we use digital means to get you more engaged? How can you help you to drive safer? And so all these are quite a different paradigm shift. So instead of just selling your product, so we're trying to address the customer ultimate needs there. So similarly, this is what Zurich has been embarking on in the last few years.
When you think about what you did at Ping on technology that you think is really a very interesting manifestation of what technology can do, I don't know if you can be more specific about the ways in which you engage customers, for example, because we always talk about this at the 30,000-foot level. It's hard for people to visualize.
Yeah, I could. For example, when you talk about mobility, so instead of having just talk about the auto insurance, it's talking about what's your driving needs. So how do you, when you go from A to B, between that, of course, where can you get petrol? But then also, in addition to that, is like how can you even get some automobile news in case if you are a car fanatic? So with all these digital content and services, add-on services, value-added services on the app, you as a customer will always use the app and become a regular engagement channel. So we get to know the customer better, and then before even start to introduce an insurance product to the customer. So so we call it, instead of calling it sales then service, we do service first before you do sales. And this is only possible with digital means, because otherwise if we have using a sales force to do that, it's just not scalable. But with means we can scale up quickly, just no difference than big tech. It's basically it's a premium, digital premium or freemium model that we were offering.
And talk about what attracted you to Zurich. You got there in I believe, late 2020. Was there a particular challenge or mission that made you want to leave to do that?
Yeah, I think because Zurich has a similar value, so that is the key, is to focus on customer to address the ultimate needs. And then besides that, because Ping An was fantastic, is a big company, but is operating largely is a single market company. But if you move to Zurich, Zurich is truly is an international insurer, and then also is a brand that is globally recognized and trusted by our customer across the globe. And of course, the culture in Zurich is started with the leadership team, and then it's not only about commercial results that is key, but also with a clear purpose. So with all these characters of Zurich, in addition to the leadership team, and it's also fit my personal development. So as I have lived in the US for 10 years, and then in China for 10 years, and then it's time to explore for my family.
Let me ask you, you mentioned single market. I'm fascinated about China in terms of being a market. We talk about it at a political level a lot. I feel like we haven't talked enough about the innovation that's going on in the ground and just the business climate. How is it? What is it you think perhaps has been underappreciated, either in terms of when you look at Ping An, you're still obviously doing some work there as Zurich. Talk a little bit about the innovative environment and just how's business?
I think China is a developing, but is a fast growing, I would say, fast growing market. So it has all the other fast growing market attributes. But that sets its size is because of its scale is large, is very, very large. It's practically is a continent on its own. So I know it's not. So it has a lot of diversity in there. So similar to what Zurich is operating in Europe. So the diversity, whereas many different countries in Europe, in China alone, there are many different provinces speaking different languages or different dialects. And then, so different provinces, different regulations. So the dynamics is very similar to Europe, but the consumer, because this is a fast growing market, a lot of younger generations, and then because they didn't have any legacy infrastructure, including technology infrastructure. Therefore, consumer, quite often, I call them the skipped generation. They would go straight to mobile experience, even before they first touching a computer the first time. Unlike in Europe, is already step by step going through the maturity cycle. You go through a computer, desktop, laptop, and then before you get to a mobile experience. So by able to do the skip generation, then you can leapfrog a lot of the development, go straight. Sometimes it's not even just mobile first, it's a mobile only mentality. So, and also because of partly, I wouldn't just label it as China alone, but East and West. This is in the East where I grew up. There is more towards the attitude towards digitization or automation or robotics. It's different. It's different than the West. How so is just my personal opinion.
Let's drill into that a bit, because I am interested. Even the regulatory environment is quite different, which has allowed for a different levels of engagement. How would you describe the attitudes as being different?
I would say it's culturally. I wouldn't. There's a lot of different nuance, but just where we grew up, and then the movie TV we watch. I don't know if you know Astro Boy or Doraemon. Is a robot is there to help you to get things done better. And this robot is there to protect human. And there's a lot of when we grow up, when we watch the cartoon and movies, sci-fi movies, whereas the Hollywood movies, sometimes it's the other way around, right? We need to defend ourselves from the robots. So there's I can't explain why, but there's inherently just from the movie and cartoon we watch is already quite different.
Well, do you think that manifests itself in a business context? Have you noticed, certainly there's hesitation when you think about privacy laws, and there was even efforts in Italy, I know, to try and halt ChatGPT, generative AI. How does that, now that we've seen all these people who've grown up on these various TV shows in positions of power such as yourself, how is that playing out?
First of all, data privacy is very important across many different markets. It's not that because of one market has a looser regulations so that customers will behave differently. So it is many markets have a similar stringency, and when we take this data privacy very seriously. So in terms of some fast growing market, they're willing to share. They share so that because they understand that, willing to share that you might understand the customer better, so to provide better products and service more tailored. And then in some other markets, we just need to make sure the customer can see the value, what they will be getting before the customer is willing to share. So I think at the end of the day, the key is how we make sure what we are doing is for the customer. And then when they see it, they will behave similarly. But one versus the other, one could see it earlier than the others.
I want to step back philosophically. I'm intrigued by insurance in particular because it's about risk. And the more precise you're able to know me as a person, the more you're able to truly assess my risk. But yet insurance is about pooled risk, right? It's about basically, you know me, but at the same time, if you specifically price insurance, then it can be quite a wide range of what you charge. How do you think we manage this tension between the whole pooled nature of insurance and the fact that the more specifically we know people, the more we can in fact discriminate in pricing?
Yeah, I think we do need to know our customer better. It's not necessarily always about pricing. It's about what kind of products we should be offering. We want to make sure the products is what you need. So without knowing better, it's very hard to say which product you need is better fit for you. And then as we get to know customer better, we have a new dynamics now. And it's just by getting to know you, so then we can tailor services for you better. So we have a unit it's not only for retail, even for commercial. For example, we do have a risk engineer. Risk engineers to get to know our commercial clients better, so that we not only will provide a risk transfer mechanism, but we also help them if it's a commercial building, for example. We'll try to look at what can we do things to keep the building safer, the fire regulations. If there's any hazard, we can help them to address them in advance. This is only through if we can know the client better. And for retail also, it's similar. If it's about household, we try to know the customer better. If there are tree scrubs around the house, there are different fire hazards. We want to know them these manner, so that we can help them to address some of the inherent risk, so that to protect their asset better. It's not always just about pricing, but it's about many different aspects of our customer life and their assets.
So let me ask about, you've got multiple stakeholders, and especially the role you're in. Some of them are internal. It's the employees, it's the vendors. Is there any way in which, what would you say you're maybe not most proud of, but what do you think you have shifted the most in terms of that experience?
Which experience?
Let's take the employee experience and the vendors who work with you. We talk a lot about the customer, but you have many different stakeholders, especially when you're in a role where you're also dealing with the internal technology and digitization of the company.
Yeah, because we operate in a very wide footprint in many different markets. So, and our philosophy is an open innovation philosophy. So we work with many different partners openly. So, and establish a company to very early stage startup. So, and we every one in between. And we are very excited, particularly, is working with all the InsurTech startups. We have a very established program, which is called Zurich Innovation Championship. And this is already the fourth time. And we just announced the winner about 2 weeks ago. There were 3,500 startups has applied for this as part of this championship. And we have selected about 13 of them. and of winners as across the globe, from US, from Canada. So
any particular trends in who the top 13 were?
Yeah, that actually is quite widespread. It's going from some of the very core to what we do, like to what the technologists do. It's like how do we handle data, as we touched on this topic earlier. How do we handle data in a more transparent and AI, more explainable AI, fairness, robustness in our machine learning model? There's a one end of the spectrum. To the other end of the spectrum, it could be is a mental health platform. So using AI guided to listen and provide a therapeutic support. So these are and coaching, and then some of it is talking about even using satellite imagery to look at the risk of the different area landscape, if there's any changing in the whole area, so we know how to prepare that in advance to warn and work with our clients earlier. So there's many areas we focus on. We're particularly focusing on customer experience and also commercial insurance, and then digital enablement. So many areas where this three areas is some of the core focuses. But one commonality, I think, is many of them are all leveraging some kind of AI these days.
And generative AI obviously is something everybody's talking about. I'm conscious of the fact that what gets you into a role like yours is not necessarily what helps you to succeed in that role. When you think about what your current mission is and what advice you have to other, CIDOs, whoever's in sort of those leadership roles, what have you learned is important in terms of where you put your priorities?
Yeah, well, we need to know where we can make a difference. If we leverage technology, where are the customer pain point, or where we can truly add value to the customer? And we need to start to focus from there. But doing that is a top-down approach is not enough. As a technologist, you need to stay relevant. So from a top-down approach, and also you need to do bottom-up at the same time. Stay current, stay relevant to understand the technology trend, what is happening in AI. AI is not only about generative AI. There are so many different branches. What cloud technology can do for you, for us, and data. So know the possibility of new emerging technology can provide, and then combine with a top-down strategic approach on where we can truly focusing on. So by top-down and bottom-up, then I think doesn't matter what is the environment is changing, so you will able to find where you should be putting your energy at to make a difference.
Let me end by asking what is on your radar that you would put on ours, Eric, in terms of what's exciting, what's around the corner, or even some of the pain points that you want to address?
Yeah, definitely for insurance, I think IoT is one of them, and we spend a fair bit of effort in Internet of Things, so that it's a sensor, so capture relevant information and insights for ourselves and for the customer. And AI, definitely. AI is not some of it is providing, getting assisting us to enable us to do things a lot easier, faster, more efficient. So, and then of course, it will provide additional insight for us too. So AI, IoT, cloud, of course, is a core foundation to enable us to do everything in between. So very often I call it an ABCD. So I started slightly twisted it a little bit. So A is for artificial intelligence. B, in this case, I'll call it big data. And then it's powered by a cloud technology. And then at the end of the day, with all these, you need to do digitalization or digital transformation across to tackle things end to end. So in a nutshell, ABCD will be the key.
I would be remiss not to add an S to your ABCD, because I think sustainability has been a big push for Zurich. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, because especially the whole realm of risk and
yeah. Well, of course, this is something that we need to deal with. This is happening, and Zurich is very focused on three areas: investment sustainability, underwriting sustainability, and also operation sustainability. And my focus I'll comment on is the operation sustainability. We already have committed to reduce the carbon footprint by 60% by 2025. By 2030, we will 100% offset our CO2 emission. So there's a lot of things to be done, and then something that digital transformation or digitization, of course, help from this as straightforward, simple as a paper consumption to provide our employees remote working opportunities, which is expedited by the COVID pandemic, so that with less traveling, less flying, less commuting, that is already helping. And then some of it is down to a bit core to ourselves on the technologies. How can we even optimize our electricity consumption better? Even though we are already using all renewable energy, so some of our data center which consume a fair bit of electricity, how can we make them more efficient? So our London's data center is already PUE is a bit below 1.2, which is already is a very optimized. But with all these, we can offset. We still cannot be completely eliminate. So then we can do offset by working with different startup, different company on carbon removal. So, and we have already worked with a number of company in this space, like Climeworks is one of them. So there are plenty of things that we are doing and learning. We're learning and doing at the same time in the sustainable operation space.
Do you mind if I ask two other very quick questions, Ericson? One is, for business leaders in the U.S., I think we hear a lot of concern about China. We keep hearing, again, on the political realm. What is your advice in terms of understanding China, the business climate in China, engaging with China? Obviously, many U.S. businesses do. Any thoughts on that you would have, since you are there frequently? I know you were in Hong Kong a few weeks ago. What would you tell us?
Yeah, I think to understand China, I think you mentioned about Hong Kong. I would suggest Hong Kong would be a good place, as Hong Kong has to start. But there are many different aspects to ways to understand it. Instead of talking about the ways and where you can start, potentially, I would say Hong Kong is the place, because Hong Kong is the gateway between East and West, or between the West and China. And it has a mixed culture of both. I think, as of course you yourself has spent some time in Hong Kong, and so as myself, I think this is a good place to get to understand the perspective from both sides. Is a gateway. So if you would like to understand the perspective from both, easier.
And ignore the politics.
Well, sometimes it's hard, but then if you want to understand the politics from all different angles, I think that would be a good place to be.
Last question: what brings you joy?
Good question. Of course, if we can get things done and to help the company, help the industry, help our customer. But what really excites me is when I get the chance to see some of our talent grow over time, and then after a while I can see them thrive in their own rights, and especially this is getting the industry is changing fast. What required to be successful is not as easy as before, but then we try to provide opportunities for our staff, our talent to grow. When I see them genuinely able to grow, able to learn and develop their career in this challenging environment, that really, really makes me feel good.
That is the mark of a great boss. Ericson Chan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for spending time with me.
Great.